not sure if you guys could tell by my channel, but I really like Monster Hunter.
This right here is my favorite thing ever in the history of forever. I think about this every day. I think about this all night long.
I mean, cool weapons, cool armor, great monster designs and fighting. Oh. What else do you need? Yet despite how highly I think of this franchise, I do sometimes see things that bother me to no end. To the point where I'd go as far as to say that they grind my gears with how frustrated I get with certain things. And that's what I'm going to be talking about in this video. Things that grind my gears. An unfiltered yap rant session. And if you don't want to listen to this, why on earth did you click on a video called What Grinds My Gears in Monster Hunter? Dummy! But if you do want to hear me rant, strap in. And now that I got you strapped in, I gotta come clean. I know it's been a little bit since I uploaded. It's been... Oh my god, has it really been that long? Jesus. Well, anyways, that doesn't matter. I want to tell you guys that I haven't just been doing nothing. I've been working on 2 really long videos. And with both of them, I'm like 70% done. And to show that I'm not lying, here's a little sneak peek from both of the videos. Motherfucker, he's got a gut! He has a gut! I ain't never seen a monster with a gut before.
Wow. Big lady.
And look at Randy Orton slithering.
Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out!
Hunters, I'm sorry it's taking so long, but listen, it's going to be worth it. And with that out of the way, let's get on to the yap session.
Well, that's not fair at all.
This is bullshit!
Okay, pretty self-explanatory. I feel like Capcom haven't represented some monsters very well. Now, granted, there's not that many. I understand I'm going to be picking out a few out of the hundreds of monsters that Capcom have properly represented, but there's one monster specifically that I feel like was done so unbelievably dirty. But before talking about that monster, there's another monster that I feel like I should talk about at least a little bit, that being Najarala. I feel like Najarala doesn't get the love that it deserves, despite being like one of the only snake wyverns.
Well, this sucks.
Like, I feel like some people don't think that it's really that strong, despite it being massive. And while not always size equals strength, it's pretty low on the threat level scale, despite how huge it is. But that's not all. The design is cool, and I feel like it could have some really neat interactions with other monsters. Maybe a Najarala paralyzing a Tetsukabra and coiling around it to kill it, or something like that, right? I feel like you could do so much with Najarala, but Capcom hasn't. I understand, you know, it is kind of big, and it definitely is a snake skeleton, so it could be a little bit difficult there. But I feel like Capcom have, like, given attention to other monsters, even on, like, the same threat level than Najarala, like Kezu, Royal Ludroth, Daimyo Hermitar, right? All those monsters get, like, a good amount of love, some cutscenes, you know, stuff. But Najarala doesn't get any of that, and I just find that not upsetting, but more disappointing, because I think he should get a chance. I mean, for fuck's sake, Blank Ganga is in Wilds. Please bring back the snake wyvern. But that's nothing compared to this next monster, who I think got so shafted, it's unbelievable. Velkhana. Some of you might think I'm delusional. Velkhana? What? Have you fought in Velkhana? Have you seen Velkhana? What's wrong there? And nothing is wrong with Velkhana's gameplay, but it's everything else that I have a problem with. And not even with Velkhana per se, but how Capcom have handled Velkhana. Being more specific, I don't like how Velkhana is handled and represented outside of gameplay. Like, Velkhana has like no ecology, no lore, no special interactions with other monsters, nothing. There's nothing. Despite having so many cutscenes in Iceborne, the game that Velkhana is introduced in, Velkhana doesn't do anything in those cutscenes. I mean, truthfully, it's a little bit irritating. Velkhana just stands there and aura farms. And if you play the game for the first time, yes, there are new things that Velkhana does, like seeing a monster get frozen for the first time, Velkhana putting on its ice armor. But then other than that, which are things you can see in game when fighting it, there's nothing else. There's nothing unique that Velkhana is doing. And despite being the ice dragon, if Velkhana isn't fighting a 1-star level monster, it will tie every single time. Like, I'm not sure if you realize this, but throughout the entire series of Monster Hunter, Velkhana has not won a single turf war. Yes, not even in Monster Hunter Iceborne, the game that Velkhana is the flagship of. Capcom wants to sell you the idea that Velkhana is the type of monster that just by existing can freeze the air, but then later shows that Magna Mallow can toss it around. Like, what? It's one of the things that frustrates me so much with how Capcom have handled Velkhana, because I want to say that Velkhana is a pretty strong Elder Dragon, but then I don't see any of that when it interacts with other monsters.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy.
Again, Magna Mallow being an equal to Velkhana just doesn't make sense. And okay, maybe Velkhana isn't as strong as the cutscenes make you believe it is, but then show me some special interactions that only Velkhana can give.
You got no sauce, no clout, no juice.
The most unique interaction that Velkhana has with any monster is Malzeno. I like the fight, it's nice, but again, I don't get that feeling of, oh, this is the Elder Dragon that is the master of the ice element. With every other monster interaction that Velkhana has, you can replace Velkhana with like Kushala or Teostra. That's how non-unique Velkhana's turf wars are. Now, I know when I say not gameplay and then I say turf wars, it's a little contradictory, but turf wars don't have anything to do with the hunters, so I feel like it's at least somewhat valid. But to give a better example as to what I'm looking for with Velkhana, in terms of things that aren't gameplay, let's look at Kushala. Kushala has the mystery of, oh, does he create storms? Or does it just so happen that he appears in storms when he is sighted? And then you have monster interactions, like with Espinas. It's pretty well known that a Kushala actually died to an Espinas. So now there's like this rivalry between Espinas and Kushala. And then you have the three Elder Dragons that are almost always connected, Kushala, Teostra, and Chameleos. And while maybe not as popular, we know that Kushala and Teostra, being one of the more common Elder Dragons, do fight a lot. And then you have Kushala's actual body, where since his scales and armor are made of metal, they can actually rust. And every so often, Kushala becomes rusted Kushala and has to shed his essentially skin. And like with insects, when they have to shed their carapace and they become vulnerable after doing so, it's the same thing with Kushala, which makes it interesting because it's a dragon doing it. And while he's rusted Kushala, he becomes more irritated and more dangerous. That makes sense. And this isn't something that Capcom just forgot, because in some games, you could just find Kushala's shedded skin, which is really cool. You see, that's a good chunk of things to talk about when it comes to Kushala that doesn't involve gameplay. And I feel like Velkhana doesn't have any of that. And if there is, it's so minute that you can't even really have a discussion about it. And originally, I was just going to end it here with Velkhana. I didn't want to end it off on a bad note with Velkhana. So let me give my 2 cents on what would be a pretty plausible and, in my opinion, cool monster interaction with Velkhana. That being an interaction between Velkhana and Rajang, with the interaction showing that Velkhana is a complete counter to Rajang. The first obvious one, Rajang's biggest elemental weakness is ice. But not only that, it seems that Velkhana can only freeze monsters solid if they are a certain size, because with bigger monsters, we haven't really seen that. But that's a good thing for Velkhana and a bad thing for Rajang, because when it comes to monster sizes, Rajang is on the smaller side. And while I don't think Rajang would be frozen solid like a statue, like with Great Baggy, I do think since he doesn't have very good protection, I mean, think about it. All he really has is muscle and skin. I think Velkhana being able to freeze off a limb seems pretty reasonable. And while it hasn't been confirmed as canon, and it's more of a theory, people believe that Orochi Kirin, which is essentially a ice Kirin, switched out their lightning for ice so that they can counteract Rajang. Rajang wouldn't want to eat Kirin for its lightning powers, and now Kirin actually has a good way of damaging Rajang. And while again, this is a theory and hasn't been confirmed, it makes a lot of sense. Now replace Orochi Kirin with Velkhana. I'm sure you can see where I'm getting at here. Velkhana being a complete counter to Rajang and having that unique monster interaction makes sense and it's interesting. Unfortunately, everything I've been saying is fan fiction. And in canon, there is no real parallel between Velkhana and Rajang, and the only time Rajang and Velkhana interact is with a reused turf war. Listen, hunters, I don't hate Velkhana, but I just can't stand it when Velkhana is so loved, great fight, great armor, great design, yet it seems like Capcom completely dropped the ball when it comes to Velkhana's lore and ecology, which grinds my gears. I don't like that. But I've yapped way too much about Velkhana, so on to the next yapping point. By the way, if you think I hate Velkhana because they were in my top 5 worst monsters video, congratulations, you fell for the rage bait.
Why are you so negative all the time?
Okay, this one's going to need a little bit more explaining. I'm sure a lot of you know that like Monster Hunter has gotten way more popular ever since Monster Hunter World came out.
That's why he's the GOAT!
which is great. I love that. But with more eyes on Monster Hunter, you're going to get quite a lot of new, opinions, if you can call them that. Because some of the shit that I've seen from the new players of Monster Hunter is just so baffling. For example, when Monster Hunter Wild's first trailer came out, so this was a while ago, people saw that there was actually a slinger on the hunter. And holy shit, did people have opinions about that. Now, I understand with the Clutch Claw and the Slinger as a whole, people liked it, people disliked it. There's like a huge amount of variety on opinions there. But man, there were some people going way too far. Saying things like, oh, the Slinger's back, I guess they didn't listen to us. And saying things like the community is very vocal that they don't like it. Why would you bring it back? Just a lot of bitching and moaning, and all we saw was a small snippet of someone having a Slinger on their arm. You might be asking, well, this section is supposed to be about new players. I'm pretty sure a lot of people were doing that, new and old, and that is true. But I remember seeing one comment, fuck, I don't know where it was. You're just gonna have to trust me on this. And it read along the lines of, I love Monster Hunter World. I love this franchise, but if the Clutch Claw is back, I'm not playing Wilds. Brother, you're not a Monster Hunter fan. You're a fan of Monster Hunter World and Iceborne, not of the series. Again, I completely forgot where I saw this from. I know it looks like I'm just fighting ghosts because I can't remember where I saw it from, but trust me, I saw a comment like that somewhere. Oh my god, I look like a fucking idiot saying that. I think my overall problem with like new players coming into the series is that they'll say that they're fans of Monster Hunter because they started playing Monster Hunter World and Iceborne. But the moment that something isn't to their liking, whether it's a certain mechanic or with the case of Rise, the fact that it was on the Switch, people won't play the game because of small things like that. I'm not saying that if you have criticisms or, concerns about a Monster Hunter game that you should just be dismissed. No, I'm not saying that. Obviously, since almost every single game has a new mechanic and a new style that they're trying, there's always going to be fresh concerns and criticisms. It's normal and it's even healthy. That way Capcom can improve on what they did before. But if you say a Monster Hunter game is bad because it's on the Switch, or there's a mechanic you don't like, or the game doesn't have a good story, I don't want to sound like the nerd emoji, but you're not a real fan. Despite Rise being on the Switch, it was a beautiful game. And then we got Sunbreak, some of the best Monster Hunter experience I've ever had. World had an admittedly bad story, but everyone agrees that World was amazing. And then people hate the Clutch Claw and the Slinger, a mechanic they introduced in Iceborne. And a lot of people say that Iceborne is the best Monster Hunter ever. And I think what really upsets me with this is that I feel like it really is new players who are saying these things. Because with like 4 Ultimate, Generations Ultimate, I was hearing like no negativity. But then once World got popular, it seemed like there was a floodgate of people with trash opinions. And then they want to say, I love Monster Hunter, I love the series, but I can't stand playing on a Switch. Like, shut the fuck. Sorry, I don't want this to sound like I hate new players or I hate the fact that Monster Hunter is getting more popular. I love both of those things. It's a good thing that a game series I love is getting talked about more and more as the years go on. I guess for a while it was just really annoying seeing overly negative people talk about a game I really love, especially when those people themselves say that they love the series. I need to cool off for a little bit. I'm gonna go eat some ice cream. Who the fuck ate my ice cream? Okay, this is going to be the last thing that grinds my gears, and oh boy, does it grind my gears. It's something so small, so petty, and is 100% a skill issue. Does it happen all the time? No. But when it does happen, I start tweaking. I'm referring to when I'm fighting a monster, and I'm drinking more healing potions than actually fighting the monster. And I don't even have to be missing a lot of health, but I know if I'm not full health, the monster that I'm fighting will one-shot me. So I have to heal. But something that upsets me even more is that while I'm drinking the healing potion, the monster hits me, but doesn't hit me for a lot of damage. No, it's just like a little tap, a little nudge, a little mwah. But because I technically got hit and it did a atom's worth of damage, I stopped healing. That mega potion, gone, never to be seen again. That's an absolute waste of a potion and you're pissing me off. And I can already hear so many of you saying, well, Spottable, just get better armor. Maybe get health boost, get more skills to help you with this fight. And honestly, no Normally I do. If I die to a monster, I'm like, all right, this guy definitely is just a little bit too much for me right now. Let me absolutely slaughter the monster before this one and get its armor so I can, you know, better prepare for this upcoming monster that's whooping my ass. That's the whole point of Monster Hunter. But if you're being a little bitch and damaging me only a little bit so I have to constantly heal, takes me out of the fight, I'm not going back and getting better armor or skills. I'm killing you with what I have. I have to do that because if I don't, then this monster wins. And you're not fucking winning, bitch, especially since I see you on low health. I see your bitch ass on low health. Nah, screw better armor, run it back. And if that sounds entertaining to you guys, this video right here and also this video perfectly shows what I'm talking about in this section of what grinds my gears. But if you just want a little tidbit, a little taste of what it looks like, here you go. Leave me alone. I said leave me alone. Son of a bitch. Son of a bitch. I'm gonna lose my fucking mind. God fucking damn it. Powder mantle is also so useful. Oh, you dumb idiot. We're not losing. You better listen up to me. You better listen up. We're not losing this. So yeah, I know it's petty. I know it's small. I know it's a skill issue. But it still grinds my gears when it happens. So I get to talk about it. But that's all the main things that grind my gears in Monster Hunter. I love Monster Hunter. There isn't really anything I dislike about the series. And even in this video, there was only really 3 talking points. And please, for me and my throat, because good lord, I don't usually raise my voice as much, so my throat is in agony. Hit the like and the subscribe button. It shows your support and it gives me motivation to keep on making videos. And if you have some things that grind your gears in Monster Hunter, tell me about it in the comments. I read all my comments. And with that being said, I will see you all in the next video. Stay safe, my hunters.